We got Brett here from DesignJoy, really excited to pick his brain. We've got a whole bunch of questions, got some audience questions queued up as well. What's this thing with DesignJoy? What's the genesis of this whole project?
So it's basically what you commonly refer to as like a productized design service, which basically means taking design and selling it in an off-the-shelf sort of method. The way that I do that is in form of a subscription. So you'll see a lot of these popping up now, I'm sure, if you've been on Twitter or anywhere near it. But I started mine called DesignJoy back in 2017 and have been running it ever since solo. So I don't have any employees or no contractors, none of that. So I do all of the, I'm like the Indians on the ground, like all of the design work myself. And I've been running it solo full time for about 3.5 years.
What made you decide on the subscription model? Like, you know, you could do freelance, project basis, you could do hourly, you could do retainers, you could do fixed rate. I mean, there's value pricing. What made you think like, I'm going to try this subscription idea?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of born out of a need to kind of stand out. So everyone else is doing just the very traditional things of either, you know, working for a company or doing freelancing or starting an agency. And I didn't really like the probability of my success in any of those fields, so I wanted to do something that was a little bit different. And I'd come across actually the model previously before I'd built DesignJoy, doing it for something slightly different than what I do, and thought that it could very easily be applicable to my skill set and my talents. And I knew that I probably had a better chance of succeeding in that way than the other forms of being a designer. So it was really just out of necessity to stand out.
Who are DesignJoy's typical like target clients?
I mean, the software as a service space, SaaS space, has been kind of my bread and butter. They're usually always technology companies doing some form of product work or something like that. Sometimes they're service-based companies as well, but they usually tend to be in the technology space. The other half of that would be other agencies, whether they have current develop or design support within internally, or they're looking to sort of add that arm of the business to their scope of work, and by means of DesignJoy. So it's about a 40-60 split. 40% are other agencies. And
then that makes total sense when maybe someone thinks of when they look at your pricing, which we can get into in a moment here, which at this point, from what I understand, is around $5,000 a month is like your package right now?
That's the most popular package. So it's $5,000 a month. There are quarterly annual packages as well. So if you want to lock yourself in, you can get a little bit of a discount there. But 99% of people just go from month to month. So
then it makes sense, like with this business to business model, you got agencies, you got software companies and kind of more semi-established startups. They got a budget and they got cash flow, but they, maybe they don't want to bring on a full-time designer and pay them X amount a year with benefits and insurance and all this stuff. Whereas $5K a month with no contract, like there's literally no risk and so much upside for them if they're willing to do that. So then that really works to your advantage.
You nailed the number one use case for it on the head, being that a lot of people don't want to go through the headache and the length of time that it takes to hire real talent. And then that's one big group of people, and then the other subset would be those that just have something that they need done quickly. So they're looking to just get like an MVP out there that looks good, functions good, but they're not going to spend a year developing it. And so to be able to sign up for DesignJoy within a couple of seconds and get started is appealing.
When you double your rate, you're inevitably going to anger some clients, scare some away, get some angry emails. Did you get those angry emails or upset clients?
Yeah, so surprisingly, I did not increase the rate of existing clients at all. I still haven't ever once in my life. So I still actually have a couple of clients paying less than $2,500 a month for DesignJoy. So mission was to sort of curb demand, suppress it a little bit so that I could get my breath, intention of staying at the 5K rate. But in retrospect, I know why it still worked, because when I was doing it $2,500 a month, it was insanely cheap. It makes sense why there was so much demand. Yeah, I like to try to manage my stress level as much as possible, because I've gone through, as any business owner that has scaled a business, the highs and lows of my stress level just being insane. And I feel like at a 5K, I can sleep well at night. I feel like I'm delivering enough value, probably more value than I'm charging, but I'd rather be on that side than have the burden of feel like I have to just continue to produce and overproduce to meet what clients are paying. So
what would be like a common myth that you encounter regarding DesignJoy and the business model?
The most common misconception about the whole thing is just how manageable it actually is. I think, a lot of people think that I'm pushing people to work 14, 15-hour days because that's what I must be doing in order to make this work. And certainly there was a time when I had about double the number of clients that I have today, and that was my life. But no, I don't really, that's not what I'm pushing for. Like, I'm a family guy. I have 3 kids, a wife. Like, I don't want to just work nonstop. I want to have time to spend with my kids and actually do things that I enjoy doing. So the whole premise of this isn't to just work yourself to death. It's actually to give you back your life. So I don't teach people necessarily how to build $1 million design business. Like, that's not, I have a course, like that's not what I teach in my course. Like, I teach people to just get 5 clients and charge them $5K a month and make a super, super good living and only work 4 or 5 hours a day. So that's a very common, I know a lot of the haters get like, they hate that I came out with a course, and they hate that I'm teaching people how to just work themselves into the ground. When in reality, I work probably less than a lot of people on this call. And that's all credit to the model and the boundaries that it sets within your work life.
So with the wisdom of hindsight, is there something that you would change if you had to start DesignJoy from scratch?
Yeah, I would set I think what I was really hard at saying no growing DesignJoy, and that was my biggest, I think, aid in where I am today as far as growth and revenue, but also the biggest hindrance in terms of just the stress that I experienced. I couldn't say no to clients when they're like figure of speech, they're just waving money in front of your face, and you say yes, and then you realize you're 14-hour days in, and there's no escaping it. There's no vacation. There's no time off. If you get sick, too bad. Never having a break and being able to enjoy your life. So like, knowing what I know now, I'm very good at saying no. I'm very good at being a little bit more choosy on who I let into the service, even down to whether I'm even passionate about what they have going on or not, so I can sort of pour my passion into it. So I would just guard my client base a lot more than when I was make it to where I am today. So I don't want to discount that. And especially when you're starting a business, you have to be desperate to a certain extent. You have to do things that you wouldn't normally do. I charged way less. I worked way more. You're probably going to be working more than later on in your career. But yeah, I would be better at saying no and better at managing just the volume of work that I took on.
So how would you recommend or suggest people approach offering a different type of service that's not, say, graphic design or UI design or mock-ups and whatnot? How would they approach it to, say, building actual websites?
So I mean, I honestly don't approach it any other different way. I mean, there's a reason why. I mean, my skill set only allows me to work within no-code tools. So my tool of choice would be Webflow, but the same is necessarily applicable to Squarespace, Wix, Editor X, whatever. Framer even now is coming up and is getting really popular. So I mean, the same kind of model applies because you are still at the end of the day keeping it within some sort of constraints, right? Like, I purposely keep my web development work within the constraints of what are natively possible within these platforms, because a lot of them, and I'm sure Editor X is the same, you can plug to the outside world and bring in all sorts of scripts and stuff, and then you're opening yourself up to invariably more possibilities that may or may not be possible, may hang you up. So I always tell people, if you're getting into a no-code productization service, keep the scope of work very limited in terms of what's natively possible within the platform, so that you know without a shadow of a doubt you can execute the work at the end of the day. What you don't want to do is get a month into a project, they come up with some really important feature that isn't possible within the platform, and you spend a lot of time trying to figure that out. But yeah, the way that I do it, I do sell Webflow. Obviously, design is my primary platform, but Webflow is an add-on to that service that you can subscribe to separately. It's $1,000 extra a month, but you have to have the design package too, so it's totaling $6,000 a month. And it basically works the same way as I do design. Like, we'll design the site in Figma, I'll have all of the design work there, export the assets, put them into Webflow, and just work through page by page until the project's done. A lot of times this is the most hands-off portion of our engagement with the client, because it's just a matter of, like, we have what we need to build. Now we just got to make it happen. So there aren't really a lot of approvals or anything that have to go through. So it's actually way easier to do the Webflow side than it is design, because there's not as much back and forth. But it inevitably does take longer, right? So it's much quicker for me to design a site than it is to build a site. So managing expectations there is something that I usually do on that 15-minute call I have. up front, because they'll oftentimes ask how long that sort of thing takes, and it does take a little bit longer than design.
Now, you've been quite content, it seems, and almost contrarian in that people will be like, why don't you hire people? Why is it just you? This is impossible. You're fake. You're AI. People get, it seems that people get their, you've heard it all, I'm sure. Get their feathers ruffled in knowing that, you do this by yourself as a one-man agency. So you've been quite content doing that and building your lifestyle around the way, you run your business. But you recently indicated or tweeted that you were looking to hire a designer. So is this still the case? What prompted that decision? And has that process of trying to find somebody been difficult?
Yeah. So I've gone, this isn't my first time, maybe my first time tweeting about it, but I've been sharing things publicly for many years back on Indie Hacker days. This isn't my first time trying to find a designer. It usually happens where I'm like through these spikes where I don't know what else to do but find someone else to help me, and that's kind of the case that I'm now. I just recently went on sort of this unexpected, unplanned YouTube sort of row where I was on various YouTube channels, and so things just kind of culminated all at once, and so that's why my calendar's booked out now. And so I was looking at my calendar and I'm like, there's no way that I can take on even 25% of these clients. So I was like, I wonder if I could just find a designer to push some of this work off to as well. And I also tweeted about how much I'm going to owe. I'm very open about these things, especially when it comes to numbers, but I also tweeted about how much I think I'm going to owe in taxes this year as well, because one of the things about running a one-man agency is that you really don't have any of the expenses that you would normally be able to write off when you have a team, and so the bulk of your money is profit, which is great, but it also means that you tend to owe it all in taxes. So I was just sitting there thinking, I'm like, it makes so much more sense to, instead of paying this all the money to the government, just find somebody to help me out and take some work off the plate. Who knows, I might fall in love with it and just hire 10 people and then not have to work at all, right? So I kind of want to like dabble around with it and see how. I've worked with like design teams outside of DesignJoy. I've never worked with any designers inside of DesignJoy, so I'm not sure exactly how it would work and how it'd play out. But yeah, I'm on the hunt for one kind of senior level designer right now. Got several hundred applications to that, but I'm currently trying to wade through them and find someone. I found a couple of people, but like it just didn't work out in conversation. But yeah, I'm open to it. Not certain that I'm going to do it, but open to the possibility of it. But yeah, and then when you're talking about designers too, it's like, I mean, even with myself, who arguably makes more money than any designer in the world, they're like the sort of the gap between like the top designers out there and me is dramatic. Like I am surrounded on Twitter, people, designers who are way superior than me, and so you have this voracious yearning to grow and to keep developing, and I think a lot of designers don't have that, and they get kind of complacent with where they're at, and so yeah, it's tough. Like with all the people that applied, I'm like, I was you at one point, so I want to give you a shot, but you're just not there yet, and it's hard to tell people that. I'm not like I have too big of a heart to be like, because I do a lot of one-on-one calls with people, and they'll ask me what I think of their site and stuff, and it's just like I have to very carefully tiptoe around it, but generally most websites suck. That's it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, everyone just about needs design help, and a lot of them don't even know it.
And that's true. It's like you want to give them honest feedback and guidance, some tough love, but you also don't want to hurt them so that it kills their desire to pursue it at all, which it could have been a great designer. Yeah, everybody sucks at first, and then you eventually suck less, and then maybe you get to become really good. Do you suffer with a perfectionist sort of syndrome, given that you're trying to provide this high quality, high caliber level of design, or are you just over it and you know how to just go for it?
I do experience a short burst of that when I'm working with a client for the very first time, because I don't want to disappoint people. So when I get a new request in and it's like a landing page, the brand doesn't exist, the website doesn't exist, I'm having to sort of create something out of nothing. I do have that perfectionist attitude where I'm like, this needs to be top notch. I need to come out of the gate and really impress them. So I'll spend more time on that that first project than any other project. Once that's done and out of the way, I'm like, shoo, now I can just go for it. I don't have to worry at all. I've set up the structure and the aesthetic, and now it's just a matter of pushing things around on the screen. So I don't have the luxury or time to be a perfectionist just overall with my work, because everything is like, I pretty much take a request and go one direction, right? Typically when you have a design request, you can go a million different directions in terms of aesthetic and layout and this or that, fonts, whatever, colors. I have the approach where I just pick one right off the bat and don't look back. I just go straight through it and don't veer off at any point or reverse and start over. So a lot of that, again, comes from experience. Not that everyone can operate that way and it'll work out, but yeah, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I would like the luxury of being more of a perfectionist if I had more time.
Okay, so now I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and we've talked a lot about specifically the business side and the operational side of everything. I want to know what, in the balance between professional success and your own personal well-being, that those things, balancing those can be tricky, especially if you run your own business. And then especially if you're high demand and you've got a lot of work on your plate, a lot of responsibility. So how do you personally manage your workload to prevent burnout so you don't get another one of those situations you had where you had to double your rate from 25 to 5K?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been fortunate and unfortunate to go through that for the very first time in my life. I ran DesignJoy for 5 years, worked literally from sun up till late at night. Like, my wife would come, make dinner, sit beside me at my desk once she put the kids to bed and eat. I did that for many, many years running DesignJoy, and eventually did burn out. I can't even tell you how long ago it was, but it was the very first time I experienced it in my life. Before that, my passion just got me through everything. I was just so passionate about it. I had this business that was growing, making tons of money, doing things that I never would be able to do, and it just that just kept me going until it just seemed like just a snap of the fingers. I was burnt out, and I had experienced it for the first time. I had so many people telling me, like, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. I'm like, no, you don't understand me. Like, I'm different. Like, I'm built differently than all of you guys. Turns out I wasn't. It just took me a little bit longer to get there. So now, like I said, it goes back to the previous conversation I had with you around, like, protecting what I've built in terms of the size that I let it grow to, and that sort of thing. So, like, now I'm in a very good position where I work less than full-time hours and can take off a day here and there whenever I want to. It's not a perfect model. I mean, there's a lot of downsides to it, but reasonably speaking, like, I have a very, very balanced life, way more balanced than it used to be. And that's why I don't really hire people, because I'm like, I make plenty of money. I work as much as I want to. I enjoy what I enjoy what I do. And I couldn't be in a better spot. Sometimes I have to pinch myself, because I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing all this and not having to spend every waking second working.
That's incredible.
It just doesn't make sense to me or a lot of people.
What would be like a personal hobby or a personal interest that when you're disconnecting, you're turning off your computer, you're turning off design, and you're ready to just like kind of spend time with your family or just by yourself? Like, what's a personal hobby or interest that you do to disconnect?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I'm a video game nerd, for one. So I know that as an entrepreneur, you're not supposed to play video games. That's what they tell you, at least. But if you want to win a business and play video games, no, I like video games is sort of my escape from the real world. That's one thing. We built a home. Fortunate enough to build a home in my home state, Missouri. Like, I'm in Phoenix, where everything's very just cluttered and clinked together, so we have some land out there. I love going out there, being outdoors, like all the little things that you take for granted when you live in a city. I love being able to do that. We do that a few months out of the year. Other than that, I mean, I lead a pretty boring life. Like, we were talking before recording, I have 3 kids, so we spend a lot of time in the house, doing this or that, or playing out in the backyard or something. So I don't really have any crazy hobbies that I partake in, unfortunately. And
I think that's, as a father of 3 kids and a family man myself, I can appreciate that. It's like you just being able to just like take it easy, or like sit out in the hammock swing and like look at the kids jumping on the trampoline with the sprinkler on. You're like, it's kind of it. It's like living the life, man. It's like, it's good.
Yeah, like we just bought our kids like a big water slide to put in the backyard, and they're like, that has a water park in their backyard now, and we just go out there and watch them play all day long. So, we make do with how having to do crazy things like vacations and stuff. It's not cards to our life right now where we're at. So, but yeah,
that's brilliant, man. Okay, so I got some rapid fire questions for you here. So, coffee or tea while designing?
Neither. I'm not a coffee or tea drinker. No, I take that back. I am a sweet tea drinker. I'm from the Midwest, so like if it's really, really, really sweet tea, not your traditional like hot tea, I will drink that all day long. But not a coffee drinker, unfortunately.
Hey, well, I like that sweet tea.
I wish I was.
Makes me. Do you eat pecan pie?
No.
I was thinking of the Zach Brown song, "Sweet tea, pecan pie, and homemade wine."
Oh, yeah, it's true. No, I'm the pickest eater you'll ever meet. I eat everything plain.
Okay, color palettes, subtle and monochromatic or eccentric and contrasting?
Subtle and monochromatic. I would say brutal and monochromatic. But yeah, if I had to pick one, yeah.
Apple or Android?
Oh, Apple 100% all day long.
Cool.
I've given Android a fair shot, but no, I keep coming back.
You're a designer. If you were like, BlackBerry flip, I'd be like, what? Are you serious?
Yeah. I want to love Android so much because I just think they have cooler phones, and it's not the same boring stuff we were used to. Yeah. It always comes back to the ecosystem.
Music or silence while designing?
Silence, surprisingly. I tried music many times, still do every single day just about, but I get distracted.
Yeah, I hear you. Whenever I listen to music, I try not to listen to music with words. So I listen to it could be jazz or orchestral music or like some weird lo-fi eccentric sound.
I haven't tried that yet.
Give it a try.
Yeah, I haven't tried lo-fi yet.
Yeah, it's just like something that I want in the background that gets me in the zone, but doesn't, like, I'm not thinking of the story that they're trying to tell or the words, If you could wave a magical wand and you get a full 7-day break, and in fact, because it sounds like you've got more chill, relaxed vibe than I even thought when going into this. Let's say you get a full 30 days off from DesignJoy without any consequences. It's like hitting a pause. Where do you go, and who do you take with you?
Man, probably obviously my family, someplace tropical. So like being with having kids, getting out of the country is probably off the table for us, at least. I know some people would do it anyways, but for my wife at least, it's a no-go for at least another 15 years. So probably just transport us someplace tropical like Tahiti or something. I've never been someplace tropical other than like California. So I've always dreamed of going to like an island or something and being at the beach and being in good weather. And cliche answer, but that's where I want to be.
Nothing wrong with that, man. Like, good answer. I'm with you on that. I would come on that vacation. Would you rather have a rewind button for your life or a pause button?
Probably a pause button. Yeah, I like where I'm at versus where I've come from. So right now I feel like I'm kind of in my prime. So pause would be more appropriate. It's
a wise answer. It's a good answer that I feel like it's a very fatherly answer, in fact, because sometimes, you got your kids and they're growing up in front of your eyes and you just like want to pause the moment. And going back, you're like, hey, I did it. Like, that's in the past. Like, we're here now. And, it'd be nice to savor the moment. So I get it. I'm with you on that. Pause button. This one I'll save for last. Okay. Would you rather use Comic Sans as your only font for a year or work for an agency again?
Gosh, I would have to say work for an agency most likely. Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't necessarily dislike the idea of working for an agency, funny enough, and I hate Comic Sans. So, yeah, probably that. If I just had to do it for a year, if you were to say like 2 or 3 years, I'd probably just be like, yeah, Comic Sans. But
you'd make Comic Sans work. You're like, can I change it to vector and then change how it looks to be not Comic Sans?
Yeah, no, I like the idea of going to. I'm weird. I like the idea of going back to work for someone where I don't have to worry about the business. I just show up, do the work, go home, forget about it. I'm not doing that, but I don't hate the idea of it.
So in conclusion, I appreciate you bearing with us here with all the tech glitches, and I'm honestly hoping and praying that this is going to work. But hey, if not, you and I had a great chat.
Absolutely.
And I would not hit rewind,
Absolutely.
So this is wonderful getting to meet you, Brett.
You as well, man.
Oh, thanks, man. Tell us where we can find where we can find you and plug anything that you want.
No, I mean, my website, if you want to check it out, is designjoy.co, co, not .com. And then you can find me on Twitter. My handle is at Brett, B-R-E-T-T, from DJ.
Brett, this was awesome. Really appreciate your time. I wish you all the best, both with DesignJoy and most especially with your family.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.